Welcome to the Savvy Ladies Wednesday Wisdom. My name is Lisa Ernst, and I'm the Executive Director of Savvy Ladies. Before we get started, a reminder that we'll have a few minutes at the end of the presentation for your questions. Feel free to type your questions into the chat window. If you're listening to the presentation and have a question, you can send your questions to info@savvyladies.org. Our presenter today is Lois Barth. Lois brings over 20 years of experience as a coach, healthcare practitioner, and comedian to her programs. She has a unique approach that she calls transformational and motivates groups and individuals to incorporate humor, shift one's perspective, and focus one's enthusiasm. Lois also integrates science to understand our wiring and how we tick. Welcome, Lois. We're so happy that you're with us today.
Oh, I'm very excited, Lisa. Thank you so much for inviting me. So I'm going to just launch in on the 3 C's of embracing your inner financial rock star. And this is a topic I feel really, really passionate about because having worked at this point, Lisa, with well over 800 clients, most of which are women, what I find is that innately we have so many great resources as women that make us naturally good, skilled in handling money. And as you, I'm sure you can attest as well, that more and more notations and data comes out that women by and large do make better investments, but there are things that really stop us from doing that. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Excuse me. We're going to talk about the 3 C's of embracing your inner financial rock star. And as I will talk about later on in the program, I see money and finances as a resource to live a life you love. And that when we can wrap our mind and our skill level around handling our finances and our relationship with money, then it becomes an incredible tool in our toolbox for life to live a life that we love. So I'm very excited about it. And I'm passionate about this topic around finances and money. You know, I come to it very, very early. My parents used to tease me that I probably would save the first dollar that I've ever made because I have a tendency to be a little bit of a saver. And as I got older and my father really wanted to introduce me to the world of finances, he took me to get the little I'm dating myself, the little passbook savings account. And then when I went to college, he took me to get a checking account. I found that I was very early in the game, very quick to acquiesce my knowledge to him. So, for example, my father would say, he used to call me girlfriend. He said, girlfriend, let me teach you a little bit about investing. And I would always say, well, Daddy, you invest the way you want to. Don't worry about it. I trust you. And I realized that even though he had really encouraged me, I abdicated very early in life. And I see more and more how women have done that. And it's really a shame because, as I mentioned, it is innate to who we are, to being very trusting of our instincts, to ask questions, to be coachable. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Fast forward several years later, when I had to handle my finances myself and I got a little concerned, I hired my first financial consultant, and she said to me, well, tell me, Lois, what is your understanding of mutual funds? And I said, my idea of mutual funds is we all chip in at the end of the meal. So she knew that she was going to have a big learning curve with me. So I really feel like it's so important as women that we get to own what we know and get support what we don't so that we can embrace our inner financial rock star. And we're going to talk about the 3 C's to do that. And the first C is creating a state of calmness. Because when we create a state of calmness on a daily basis, we make better choices in our financial life. When we learn how to interrupt the stress response that increases anxiety and impulsive behavior, we can impact our financial decisions in a positive way. So here's what I have found stops women in general. These are broad stroke, but definite anecdotal and a fair amount of data to back it up. As women, we have a tendency to second guess ourselves, to be very perfectionistic, and to overthink. So when we create, I was just having a conversation with a colleague before, and she said, oh, don't talk to me about numbers because I'm going to get all anxious. You handle the numbers, I'll do this. And so what I know, and this is very typical response, response. So when we take an area that is more charged for us, like money and finances, which is a very kind of taboo topic on the planet, and we take away some of the triggering we have around it, and we create a state of calmness in our life, what happens then is we can have more resources to trust our inner guidance, to trust what we know, to ask about what we don't know, and to make way more informed decisions. So that's really nice to say. It's easy to create calmness when you're having a spa day or a fabulous lunch with your best friend. But how do you create a state of calmness when you're feeling triggered and stressed out? So I'm going to talk you through an untriggering exercise that will help you do that, so that you can literally create a state of calmness no matter what is going on in your outside life. So are you ready to untrigger Lisa, Maddie, and the gang? Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And Lisa, can you hear me?
Yeah, I was on mute, but yes, we're all ready here, Lois.
Okay, great. So what I want you all to do is I want you to close your eyes, and if you're taking notes or crossing your legs, uncross your legs, and I want you to create what I call a stress stimuli. And what that is I want you to think about something recently in your life that really stressed you out. And I want you to actually visualize it like a single image of a picture in a frame. And bring that image up into your imagination. And now what I want you to do is I want you to go into your body and notice where you feel that stress response. So the common places where people feel it is their solar plexus, their gut, their stomach, their head, their shoulders, sometimes tension in their shoulders, sometimes even their lower back. So just locate where in your body you feel that stress response. And now what I want you to do is I want you to assess what number you are on the stress scale. So 0, 1, obviously very low stress, 8, 9, and 10, high stress. So just give yourself a number right now, and don't overthink it. Whatever first comes up for you is usually the most accurate. Great. And what I want you to do now is I want you to go into your body, and I want you to start to notice the type of tension that you feel. Is it a ropey type of tension? Is it a sharp, more shooting type of tension, or a dull ache? Just notice it. And I want you to start to pay attention to any emotions that are connected. It might be fear, anger, anxiety, sadness. Just notice it. And then notice if there's any belief connected to it, such as, this is hopeless, I'll never get through this, I never know exactly what the right thing to do or say. Just notice if there's any beliefs. So again, you're going to your body, you're assessing a stress number, you're noticing the texture of the discomfort or the stress, what the belief is, and what emotions are connected to it. And again, don't overthink it. Great. So now I want you to take a couple of nice, really deep breaths. Beautiful. And now, there was this wonderful children's book that I love very much called Harold and the Purple Crayon. And Harold had a purple crayon that he drew all over town. So with this imaginary purple crayon, I want you to trace the outline of each of your toes right now. So your big toe, focus, don't move your toes. Your second toe with the purple crayon, your third toe, your fourth toe, and your fifth toe. Beautiful. And now take a couple of nice deep breaths. And as you're doing that, keep your eyes closed. I want you to, in the air, you're going to draw a figure 8 with your finger. Keep your eyes closed. And like the number 8, but it's horizontal, a figure 8, and you're going to just draw it with your finger in the air. One more time, great. Shake your arms out. Take a couple of nice deep breaths. Great. And now what I want you to do is I want you to recreate that stress stimuli that you had before, that single image that you imagined in your mind's eye. And I want you to notice what came up for you. Is it easier to bring it up? Is the image not as crisp as before? Just notice it. And now what I want you to do is I want you to go back to inside your body where you felt your tension, your stress before, your stress thermostat so far, your stress scale. And I want you to go back and notice what the number is now. Where are you on the scale? And I also want you to notice what is the texture of this sensation now. Before maybe it was sharp and shooting, maybe now it's a little duller. Just notice it. And again, go back to that original experience of the feeling. Maybe it was sadness, anger, fear, whatever. It doesn't make a difference. Do you feel that now? Has it dissipated? Is it the same? And then lastly, just notice that belief. How prevalent does that belief sound or feel right now? Great. And take a couple nice deep breaths. Great. So, I'm just curious, Lisa, I'm going to open up the line to you and the folks at Savvy Ladies. What did you notice from that exercise for yourself?
Well, I probably went down at least one number. But I was thinking what I need to do is every morning when I come to my desk, I need to do that exercise just to sort of frame my day. So I appreciated just sort of the guided imagery of that.
Great. My pleasure. And Lisa, you just said something that is so brilliant. I find I like metaphors a lot, and like when you go to the grocery store, if you go to the grocery store too hungry, you're going to end up with a whole cart full of Nilla vanilla wafers, Haagen-Dazs, and maybe a head of kale if you're lucky. But if you go to the supermarket feeling satiated, you'll make much better choices, and it's the same thing. So you're absolutely right. You want to do preventative care here, that if before, or even if you wake up in the morning and do the exercise and then do it again when you come to the office, either way is fine. You will find that your body starts getting conditioned to be able to de-stress on a regular basis. So what is the application around this in terms of finances? So let's say you know, hey, I got to really take on my financial life in a whole other way than I've been doing it. I'm going to allocate Fridays twice a month to revisit my finances. But you know that finances are charged. So what you can start to do is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, exactly what you just suggested, Lisa, is take 2 minutes, go through the exercise. And so by the time you go to your financial Fridays and start assessing your financial decisions and your life, you will be in a calmer state. Your nervous system will have already primed the pump, so to speak, to put you in a calm state. So that's terrific. So one of the things I really want, and I'm going to be sending out these worksheets after tomorrow, what I want you all to think about is, what is your stress scale? How can you start to apply this to your finances? And what is one small action you can do to do that, to take that? Because what I find is when you're taking on a big goal in your life that maybe has a large learning curve or some emotional issues around it, if you can chunk it out to small pieces, it makes it a lot easier. As the siren chimes in the background. Great. Okay, terrific. So we're going to move on now to the second C, which is clarity. And clarity is really, really important. Lisa, maybe you could move the slide to the second, okay, which is clarity. And one of the things that I think is really important is to be clear of what our values and priorities. And when we are clear of our values and priorities, we make choices around our finances to support them. And then what happens is we experience a freedom around money and a confidence in our ability to take care of ourselves. As a result, finances become a catalyst and a resource to live the life we love. So this is what I've discovered. I've discovered that money is by far the most taboo topic on the planet People will go into great detail about their dating life and TMIing, too much information all over the map, but ask them what they made last year and they'll say, hey, that's personal information. So we have a lot of secrecy and misinformation in the world around finances and money, and we either overvalue it or undervalue it. We give it too much power or no respect. And I think if we can distill money and finances down to the purest essence, which is a resource, one of the tools in our big toolboxes of life to live a life we love. It is a resource. It is a catalyst. And when we can use it for that, then we start to have a very empowering conversation around money. So what I think is the most important is to be really, really clear right now in your life, what are your 3 top priorities in your life? Or you could do a mix or match. What are your 3 top values? And how do you want that expressed? And how do you want money to be a resource, to be a positive thing to promote it? So I'm going to give you an example. I have a client, I work with a lot of, not exclusively, but with a lot of female entrepreneurs and solopreneurs who are looking to take their business to the next level. So my client in particular is a service professional who really wants to take her business to the next level, right? And when we did this exercise of priorities/values, she said, I want to expand my business to a whole other level. I want to be very, very productive, and I want to ensure that I have financial security while I'm taking my business to the next level. So I said, this is fabulous. Expansion, productivity, and financial security. So how is money going to be a resource to do that, or her financial choices? So when we looked at expansion, we looked at, well, that means what does expansion mean? And she said, I want more credibility and visibility. I want to reach more clients. So I said, okay, we're going to have to create a budget for marketing for you to do that. We're going to have to also look at some strategic partnerships that may or may not cost any money, because some marketing you can do on a shoestring budget or even no budget, some marketing, of course. So we needed to create a budget for that. The other thing, when we looked at her productivity, we found that she was very busy but not very productive. And the reason why is she was playing head bottle washer and doing everything in her business. And as a result, her business was not moving forward at the pace that it could. So we created a budget to make her more productive, meaning get her some support staff. And the last piece was financial security. So we said, okay, we don't want you to go down the tube financially by making these jumps in your business and in your staff. How are we going to build your business up by 20% to absorb that extra additional expenditures? So we created a PD fund. And what I mean by that is a professional development/business development fund, where we earmarked how much money we were going to use that year to help all of those 3 goals move forward. And how is she going to replace that money she spent by bringing in new clients? So you see, her values and priorities were the compass that helped move her forward, but money and her finances was one of the catalysts with which to do that. So what I want you to do right now is I just want you to take a few minutes to think right now, what are your 3 top values or priorities right now in your life? And you'll see on the worksheet, you can list them in separate columns. You can do a mix or match, right? Like separates in the clothing store. You can do 1 value and 2 priorities, or vice versa. It doesn't make a difference. And I want you to start thinking about, what actions do I need to take in my financial life to support my top 3 values and priorities right now. Okay? So that's something to really think of. And again, we want to chunk it out. What is the smaller next step I want to take in each of the top priorities values? I have these Loisisms, which are lessons, opportunities, insights, and solutions. They're pithy little sound bites that I've made up. And what I say is, the bigger the bandwidth, the smaller the chunk. So when you have something that's particularly challenging for you or has a lot of emotional charge for you, you want to work under the stress scale. You want to chunk it out so low that it seems like a no-brainer, so that your fight-flight mechanism in the brain doesn't say, oh my gosh, it's a charging buffalo, right? We want to make the step really small so it's super attainable. So that's one thing we really want to look at is right now, as you're moving forward on becoming your inner financial rock star, what are your three top values and priorities? And what action do you need to take in your financial life to support one? You know, it's funny, my former partner, he's a dentist, and he went to a consultant meeting, like one of those seminars and professional development meetings, and they said one of the most brilliant things. They said, your competition is not Dr. Goldberg down the hallway that is going to offer a filling for $10 cheaper. Your competition is the 82-inch flat screen TV that your patient is going to have to opt to buy versus having really good teeth. And your job as a dentist is to educate them, to help them understand why it's a higher priority. So that's what it is. We spend a lot of our money through emotional response and historic messaging. So for us to get clear in our current day reality what our priorities and our goals are essential for us. So that's the second C, which is clarity. So Lisa, Maddie, anybody over at Savvy Ladies, do you have any thoughts around the clarity piece? I welcome your response or any kind of feedback.
Well, no, I wrote down my three priorities.
Oh, what are they? Would you be willing to share, or are they too private?
Well, financial priorities. My mom is a financial priority for me.
Okay, great.
Saving for a vacation home, and just
Beautiful.
which is a long range plan, and just do a better job of tracking my expenses.
Great. Great. And so are you getting, these are wonderful. And by the way, Lisa, I went through the exact same process when I got my weekend home. It's like you just start charting the course, and you put your pennies and your dollars aside, and before you know it, you have your house. So congratulations on that. That's exciting. So are you pretty clear what you think some of your actions that you need to do around those priorities and values?
I think I would need some more time to sit and actually be realistic about.
Think about it.
When I said like financial priorities, my mom, that's sort of an interesting thing because she's elderly and I just have to.
Right.
But she does figure into my finances, so that's why.
Absolutely.
That talk about emotionally charged, but I would need some more time to really sit and think about how to attach those to-dos. And as you said, like the bigger the bandwidth, the smaller the chunk. I would need to
absolutely
think through that.
Right. But you see how it could be a framework to
Absolutely.
make your financial decisions accordingly. Great.
Right.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so it brings, when you're clear, it's so much easier to make certain financial decisions. It's less confusing. It brings greater clarity and a sense of being able to really trust your choices. Great. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for contributing that. So then the third point is really about confidence. And the third C, being confident, is when we can use our own track record of accomplishments as a roadmap to build financial confidence in our life. And by applying the principles and action steps that we took in order to accomplish a personal and professional goal, we in essence become our own role models for being our own financial rock star. So this is what I find more than anything. And there's a lot of data, and I think that kind of precipitated Lean In and Lean In for Graduates is women are rock stars. We are knocking it out of the park on so many different levels, on the professions that we're entering. There's just so many ways we're making headway. The challenge that I find that we still have is the confidence piece. And we have a tendency, by and large, to abdicate a lot of our power and our wisdom. And while I think it's so important and I feel passionate about getting role models and mentors, and that's why Savvy Ladies is so extraordinary, bringing all this programming, great content, and it's so important for us to get role models and mentors and advisors. And to balance that out, we need to also look at where we are our own role models in our own life. And we can take our accomplishments and our victories and use them as a roadmap for what did we do and how can we apply those same principles and those same qualities that we have to the financial piece, right? So that is such an important piece of the puzzle, is to look at our own lives as a role model for what we've accomplished and what we've done and how do we apply it. So I'll just give you an example in my own life. Just, I want you to think of right now a personal goal as well as a professional goal that you've accomplished, and how did you accomplish it? What were the steps that you took, and what were the qualities that you had, or the values that you honored that allowed that to be? So for me, one of my personal goals that I feel actually really proud of is growing up, I had a pretty heavy duty eating disorder, and now I've maintained a weight loss of over 40 pounds for the last 20 years. Like, I had maintained my weight loss of 30 pounds for 20 years, and over the last year I chipped away at the last 20, and I'm 12 pounds in and 8 to go. Woohoo!
Yay.
And so one of the yay! So my dieter broke a long time ago. I was not able to diet anymore. And so what I did was the process of learning to listen to my hunger and start to notice when I was eating out of emotions and stress. So one of the tools I did was I log, and to this day I still log everything that I eat. I don't log the amounts exactly, and then I write notes for the day on what my food looked like. Got into an uncomfortable conversation, had a handful of dark chocolate nibs, need to get more focused in the future. Just it takes 2 minutes. I write my log, I write my notes and any observations, and it has been the mainstay of me maintaining my weight loss. So I log, I reflect, and I shift my behavior accordingly. So that's been part of my roadmap, and I apply that principle into building my business. I log a lot of things. I'm a logger. I log my finances, but I find the tool of journaling and logging incredibly helpful for me because it is what it is. So that's one of the tools I use. So what I want you to do now is I want you to think about a personal and professional goal. Personal, as I mentioned, is organizing, getting healthy, letting go of unhealthy relationships, etc. Professional, maybe you launched a business from no experience, or maybe you translated your skill set from one industry to another. Maybe you asked for a raise and got it. Maybe you went back to school. It doesn't make a difference what it is. But I want you to think right now in your life, what were the steps that you took? And what were the qualities that got expressed? So maybe you took certain actions, but the qualities were patience, tenacity, courage, humility, passion, enthusiasm. And then how can you start to translate that around your money conversation, right? I had these wonderful friends of mine, who didn't know much about investing, so they took a year to do mock investing. So they fictitiously gave themselves $20,000 and they invested it, in their imagination with flowcharts, and they found at the end of the year how much money that their investment would have yielded. What were their mistakes? What were their victories? That's what they did. So all kinds of things. So you really want to look at this point. What action steps did you take to make and accomplish this goal? And what is the one action step you can take right now that has worked in the past that can create greater ease and confidence around your financial life? How does it apply? And how are you going to build in accountability and support to do that? So that's the confidence piece. So just to kind of wind up, the 3 C's to create to becoming your inner financial rock star are calmness, learning how you could start to untrigger and create a state of calmness. 2, clarity around your priorities and values and how are you going to use your financial life to support that. And confidence. Use your own roadmap in your life of your personal and professional accomplishments as a compass, a guideline to how you're going to translate it to your financial life. So some people ask a lot of questions, seek a lot of counsel. That's how they've accomplished personal and professional goals. That's how you'll do it in your financial life. So those are the 3 C's. And I want you to think about, as I said, I'll be sending these worksheets out tomorrow or the next day. I want you to think about how are you going to apply these principles and what is the next small step. And I do mean small. Bigger the bandwidth, the smaller the chunk. So that you can be your own inner financial rock star. So those are the 3 C's. And at this point, Lisa, I guess we're just going to open up for some conversation or questions that some of the listeners, people who have jumped on the line might have, or maybe some thoughts that you have.
Well, actually, I think you were very, clear. And so far, I just checked the email that no questions have popped up. So if anyone's on the call and wants to, or logged in and wants to send a question via the chat, we'll be able to manage that. But no, I actually think it was very sort of clear how you put it together. And I'm going to continue to do these exercises and see. I actually, I'll share. I just started something called the 5-minute journal.
Oh, great!
And I'm only 1 week into it. Because I find that I can start something like that, but then after a few weeks, I put it aside. But I made a real commitment to myself to just follow this ritual: 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night. So
great.
So far, so good.
So great.
Yeah.
Journaling is such a wonderful process because it brings you, getting you more conscious and more reflective of what's important to you and your behaviors. It's great. Congratulations, Lisa.
I think the big challenge for me has always been sequestering that time out of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I come to work, obviously there's 100 things to do. And actually when I walk in my apartment, there's 100 things to do. So it's really about making that commitment. But the time management piece of it is, I always find challenging.
Right. And that's where the 5 minutes makes a lot of sense, because you can take, everybody has 5 minutes. Whereas if you were going to say, I'm going to journal a half hour a day, you might not do it, because a half hour feels like a lot when you have 1,000 things to do, both in your personal and professional life. So that's great.
Okay, I have a question here. Thanks.
Yes.
Do you have any suggestions on getting the confidence to decide if you should take a pension lump sum allocation or wait 7 years until I reach 79 and a half and start accruing the annuity?
Gotcha. Great question. I actually, I'm obviously not a financial expert or consultant, but I think the best thing to do is to talk with someone who can actually crunch the numbers, and so that you can see what the differential, what are the differences in the numbers, and to really ask yourself right now, what is more important? Right now, is given what my goals, kind of going back to the clarity piece, going back to what my most important values and priorities are, is having that big chunk of money more of a priority, or knowing for the longevity that I'm going to have more money, financial security or financial access. Given what my goals and priorities are right now, is financial access a greater goal, or financial security over the long haul? And like I said, of course, I'm not a financial expert, but I would distill it down to, again, the priorities and the values. But getting the numbers and looking the numbers square in the jaw is the best gift you can give yourself, because otherwise it's really esoteric. And it's like, then it becomes an emotionally based decision versus a very informed, what I call powerfully choosing. That would be my thoughts about that.
Okay, the next question is from Bren.
Okay.
How do you find ways to untrigger in the first C's? So in the calmness, when you determine those triggers, how do you untrigger yourself?
Well, I think that's a really great question, Bren. I appreciate you asking. I think the most important thing is we have a flip-flop going on in our society around stress. We either try to forge through it, just do it no matter what, but it causes a lot of tension, or we totally allow stress to take over. And I think one of the things is if you walk through the exercise, literally recreate the exercise, right? What is the stress? Use your imagination. See it as a single frame. Don't notice when you're getting into the story of it, and just go back to your imagination, visualize the image, go into your body, what number, because often what causes the stress is not the experience of the stress itself, it's the story that we tell ourselves. Why am I feeling this way? I shouldn't feel this way. This is ridiculous. It'll never go away. So you want to go back to the actual exercise. Recreate the image, go into your body. What number am I? Get interested, believe it or not. Where is my tension? What does my tension feel like? Go back to tracing your toes. And again, I'm going to be launching a video product early next year and a whole series of YouTube videos on this where I take people through the process. You go through tracing your toes, a couple of deep breaths, again the figure 8, and go back to it, and you'll notice that you will actually take the stress down several levels. Does that answer that question?
Thanks, Lois.
I hope that.
Well, we're about out of
Sure.
time, so I want to thank you again
Okay.
for a
So
great
my
presentation,
pleasure.
and I'll thank our attendees for some great questions. And we look forward to seeing you next week.